JJ back here live talking a little college basketball. Today's the 6th, I think. February 6th. It's a Sunday. It's God's Day. Um, yeah, so yesterday we went 3-2. Would have been really nice to double bang Butler there. I know the show best bet was Butler on the money line as a small dog. I gave out Butler team total over, which was a fairly easy catch. Got a little sweat there, I believe, late. Um, the William and Mary full game over, despite a slower than predicted first half, went over pretty easily. And I lost the under Michigan Purdue, not Michigan Purdue, Purdue Michigan. That so the under 146 was like I said, right? Like I felt based on pace and defense, there was only two ways that I would lose that bet. Teams shooting really well from the field and it becoming a bit of a foul fest. And sad to say, both worlds collided there in that game, right? And I'll tell you what, despite that, what was it? What did it end at? 158. So I had it 146 under, went at 158, and both teams shot, I believe, over 52% from the field, and had a combined like 30 plus free throw attempts where they both shot over 80%. So I guess what I'm getting at is, you cap a game in a certain way, and you're kind of angling things not to happen. And in that case, both things happened there. Like I said, the other loss was our team best bet, our team play best bet of Butler money line, and then Stevie gave out Kansas as his best bet. That was just a rocking chair winner. So yeah, overall, 3-2. You take the good with the bad. For me, like I said, like I always say to you guys, like I love when I see people, whether it's talking to somebody or whether it's on Twitter or any social media for that matter, when they go 3-2, they're like, oh, decent day, but tomorrow will be better. Like, bruh, if you go 3-2, like you could do this full time, talking about rocking chair, you go 3-2 every day, you could do this full time. So, you're never going to hear me complain about 3-2. So, positive days, positive day. This sport has been a little wild for me, to say the least. Just a bunch of late game losers. And I've even changed up my strategies a bit to kind of accommodate, right? Because things evolve and or life evolves. You got to kind of evolve with it. Where I've kind of changed going first half full game on a lot of bets. Because I've seen a lot of games now where teams boat race, teams I have boat race them in the first half. And then they just like change up their offense in the second half, leveraging the game clock. And it's just been really odd. Like I know the sport, has always had its level of variance, but man, it's been quite tilting to say the least in certain angles. But either way, we all we could do is move forward. It was good to have a winning day yesterday. What's up, Adam? What's up, Chachu? Yeah, let's. I got two bets here that I'll talk through, and then I'll take some questions. So for me, let me just look at the current line because I know this thing's been moving a bit. Look, so Georgetown Providence today. This is just a typical spot that I love to be on. In favor of Georgetown, a team that's looked abysmal, losing a bunch of games in a row, or losing a few games in a row anyway. And Providence has looked really good. I mean, I don't look. What do you make of what do we make of Providence? I believe they've been playing well above their pay grade. Credit to Cooley coaching these guys and them playing really well. And look, they have a bunch of good players, but man, like defensively, they have a tremendous amount of liabilities. And this Georgetown team, it just like I haven't been on them during this horrid stretch. I did not back them against St. John's, and I didn't. Obviously they played a ton. They've lost a ton of games in a row. This team can fire from three, though. We know that. They've always been able to fire from three under Ewing. It's almost like he builds his teams that way around a good big man, and then snipers around him. To me, this is just a spot where Providence getting a little too much love. Now the problem is it's 6.5. Now I had gotten it at 7. I knew it opened, I believe, at 7.5. I don't mind 6.5. You can maybe do it live in game. To me, a game early on, or early at 12 start. God damn this webcam! I gotta get a new webcam. You guys ever see that? Like it just consistently kind of freezes on me. And it's not that I'm spitting, like I make it like I'm out here hawking loogies at the webcam. So I just gotta get a new webcam. But either way, Yeah, so for me, it's a good spot for Georgetown to work the inside out game and get good looks from three. I mean, Providence, like I said, Providence has been good, but they're extremely susceptible defensively. And again, anytime you get a team like this, where you talk about finding or extracting value, a team in Providence, when you bet a team like Providence in this spot, remember what you're doing. You are 100% buying high on a team and you're selling low on the other. Look, no doubt, like so yesterday, a bet I gave out was UNC Greensboro, right? They were getting 11 or catching 11 against Furman. Now Greensboro is so much better of a team than a team that should be getting 11 on the road against Furman. Furman's a good squad, but Greensboro just hadn't played a bunch of good games in a row, and they not only did they cover that they won outright yesterday, and not to say Georgetown will win outright, that they could. But again, it's like the stock market. Like when you're betting, it's just like the stock market, guys. It's not rocket science in a sense. If you're going to continue to bet teams in their winning streaks and then fade teams during their losing streaks, you are consistently not doing what you're supposed to be doing in terms of finding good spots, finding good numbers. Because again, I'd argue if this game is played 2 weeks ago, you're looking at Georgetown here being what, plus two, maybe plus 1.5, plus three on the high side. You just have a team in Georgetown playing really poorly and a team in Providence playing really well right now, which is what's stretching this line to be what it is. And I feel very confident they play this game 100 times or even 1,000 times, whatever you want, whatever your metrics are. Georgetown covers this number 6 out of 10 times, 60 out of 100. It's just seven's a big number now. 6.5 obviously means we don't push on seven, but still have this as pretty decent value. I have this at it should be like 4.5. So the fact that you can still get 6.5 still holds value. So 6.5 versus Providence. Now look, I know Providence again. If you're just somebody box score hunting, you're going to love Providence in this spot. But again, there's a little more to it. And I just think I don't know if it's going to be this game. I don't know if it's going to be next game. Georgetown will have a good game. This team can fire from three. Providence specifically can be vulnerable beyond the arc. So either way, like the spot with Georgetown. You get that minus 105 DK at 6.5. Oops. Before I go to the next game, I'll talk on the Houston game, Chachu. So I'm not sure how much you followed these videos. I know you've been around for a while. I've been a Cincinnati guy for a bunch of years now. Now I know they have a new coach this year, but Cincinnati is just a grinded out team. They don't let up, or they don't give up for that matter. My issue with this game, what pulled me away from Cincinnati is it just now. I know this under Wes Miller. This is a new team per se, and this is a team that destroyed Illinois earlier in the year. But so since he's home and that helps, since he plays tremendous defense, Houston plays tremendous defense. You could argue for the under in this game at these numbers. But overall, what really pushed me away from this game is Cincinnati is a team over the years that plays really good against really good teams, but they tend to really let down against elite teams. Houston is certainly an elite team. They're one of the few teams that's top 15 in both offense and defense as per KenPom, and they're just a tough team. They rebound tremendously, which has been something they've been doing under Sampson, right? I mean, they've been a good offensive rebounding team for it feels like forever, and they've been a really good defensive team. They play really slow, but they play really efficient on offense. And again, we're talking on a grinded out type of possession game. Cincinnati would just have to shoot the lights out today, making tough shots. They have the playmakers to do so, but I don't trust it in this spot, and it's why I stayed away. Now, to that point, I won't bet Houston in this spot because I do feel like Cincinnati is really good, or tends to be really good in these types of spots at home against even elite teams. I've just seen that they've found ways to really let down, especially late in games. And while Houston, I don't know if this is another team in Houston that can't make free throws. Houston, one of their biggest things has always been inability to convert at the free throw line. And once again, they're one of the worst in the country at shooting at the free throws or shooting at the free throw line. So, you lay in 6.5, 5.5, whatever. If this game is close late, you're going to need Houston to make their free throws. And it's just not something that they do all that well anyway. So, ultimately, I had just a bunch of arrows going different ways on this game. Gun in my head, I would take the 6 with Cincy, but um, that part of that is somewhat of a prior of a season prior bias. I'm always higher on Cincinnati than most coming into season, so my numbers throughout the year are always going to be higher than most. So yeah, ultimately, I stayed away from the game. That I lined at about 5.5, so 6 makes no difference for me to play. Could be a live spot if since he goes down big in the first half, but ultimately I'll stay away and wish the best luck however you bet it, Chachu. Okay, so other bet that I have here, Fresno and Wyoming. This game's later tonight at 7. I really like Wyoming's team total under here. So Wyoming is a team that's been coming on of late. They've been playing really well. And they do draw a pretty decent snail here in Fresno. This conference, by the way, doesn't get near enough love. The Mountain West just has a lot of really good teams. You look up and down, right? You get San Diego State, you got Colorado State, you got Boise State. Did I mention Utah State? And then even here, Wyoming and Fresno. These are all teams that have bracket caliber in terms of making noise in the bracket, not just making the bracket. Now, there's going to be a bunch of these teams that get snuffed because this is not a Power 5 conference, and teams always get the short end of the stick in conferences like the Mountain West. But this is a very talented conference on many fronts. And look, these are two other teams that are very good, very above average for sure. Wyoming can play with pace at times. Fresno State is going to absolutely crawl up and down the floor, and they force teams to really make good shots or tough shots on defense. Look, Wyoming, I look at who they've played, and they've had a fortunate schedule in the sense of lack of playing teams that play really good defense. They played Boise a few times, but outside of that, like they haven't really played many teams that actually play good defense, like Utah State, I guess. But they've been able to dodge San Diego State and obviously Fresno up to date or up until today. I look at this game as a game that Fresno is going to do their best to limit possessions. And Wyoming doesn't play fast by any means. They can elevate their pace at times. And they are really reliant on two guys on their end to do most of their or have most of their efficiencies in Maldonado and Ike. But ultimately, this is a spot where I think Fresno at home really does their best to take the air out of the ball here. And Fresno is going to want to win a game in the 50s or even very low 60s. And Wyoming plays good defense. Like I know that they're not like a great defense by any means, but they play good enough defense. And this team's been playing really well. They've won 9 of 10 games or 10 of 11. But here's my biggest problem with Wyoming, right? They don't. Their offense isn't very fluid. They don't move the ball all that well. They don't get a lot of assists. They're really reliant on guys making tough shots. And Fresno is really good at forcing tough shots. And Wyoming doesn't really get themselves a lot of extra possessions. They don't force a lot of turnovers. They don't get a lot of offensive rebounds. So, when you talk about they're playing a team here in Fresno that's already going to try to limit possessions, a team in Fresno that's elite on the defensive glass, a team in Fresno that doesn't really foul all that much. And, I know Wyoming ultimately needs to get to the free throw line. That's how a lot of their scoring comes. And Fresno, to their credit, doesn't really foul all that much, right? They just play good defense. So look, if we get a game where the refs have a heavy whistle, and it puts Wyoming at the line extra times, well, Wyoming's going to convert. They're a good free throw shooting team, and they get to the free throw a lot. I mean, believe it or not, I think it's like 21 or 22% of their points come from the free throw line, which is like absurd. So, to me, it's on a possession by possession basis. I get a team in Wyoming that's very likely going to be one and done often in their offense. A team in Wyoming that doesn't give themselves extra possessions by forcing turnovers. And if we can just limit the fouls from Fresno in this game, I really like this spot for Wyoming to go under their team total. I know if you look up and down their game logs, like this number at 63.5 is a number that they've gone under 3 times in their last 15 games, maybe even going back even further than that. But I look at it and it's like, well, who have they not gone up against? They didn't get 64 against Stanford. Stanford, who's a top 70 defense and tends to slow the game down a bit. They didn't go over 60, or they didn't get to 64 against Boise, a team that plays good defense and plays relatively slow. They did not get to 64 against Air Force, a team that crawls up and down the floor. And Air Force doesn't play great defense by any means, but they play very slow, and that limited the game or opportunities for Wyoming. And I think you're going to see the same thing here with Fresno. Again, this could turn into a foul fest late if the game's close enough and Wyoming starts hitting threes late. Sure, but to me, it's a big number. It's about 2 or 3 points over what it should be. And for a team total, that's actually massive. We're not talking a full game total. So, yes, all things considered, Wyoming team total under 63.5. Got that minus 120 FanDuel. Now, you can bet Fresno here. The reason why I preferred Wyoming's team total is because Fresno's offense is whoa, look at the hair. It's like the Mad Hatter, right? Fresno's offense can be tough to watch at times. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least. What's up, Tercero? It wouldn't surprise me in the least if Fresno only scored like 55 points and still won, but didn't cover. So, I just think this game plays really slow and definitely prefer the Wyoming team total underside. So yeah, those are the two bets. Georgetown plus the 6.5 and Wyoming team total under 63.5. The thoughts on Iowa laying 12.5 at home again? Yeah. So I will be honest. I have not bet a lot of Big Ten games this year. Now I liked the under spot yesterday, and I know it didn't cash, but it goes back to the process versus results standpoint. I don't look at that as a bad bet. I mean, based on how the game played out, I'll be honest. I would have bet that game again with the same total, 10 times out of 10. Again, just look at how the game played out. Look at how the possession on possession broke out. The teams just shot really well, and the teams got a lot of free throw attempts. So the refs weren't being as cash with the whistle, and guys were making their shots. I mean, yeah, you told me both teams were going to shoot 53%. I would have never bet the under, but the whole point was that they wouldn't, or that at least one of them wouldn't, and the game still only went over by 12 points or so. As for this spot here, so Minnesota Iowa, I know Iowa hasn't looked fully themselves over the last few games, right? I mean, always a team that plays efficient offensively and rolls up and down the court. Minnesota's on the slower end of things, right? Here's my concern with Iowa. I know this spread is what was it currently 11.5, 10.5, 12.5. So I will tell you this. This would be a spot where I wouldn't mind Minnesota's team total over. Let me just pull up what that is. And I often like to bet dogs in these spots to go over their number. And one of the main reasons why is because, first of all, their opponent, more or less in most spots, their opponent is going to score that many points of their team total. So they're always going to be trying to score that many points just to win the game, versus when you bet a favorite team total over, you're kind of hoping that the team doesn't get like cash or casual or lax with a lead and then they win the game but don't go over their number. To me, with the way this line's moved and such, I mean, it's opening up a number for Minnesota at 67.5. Iowa's defense sucks. Like, I know that they run down the floor and they're always efficient offense under McCaffrey, but just look at how this team gives up points to everybody. And I know that they played really well against Penn State, and at home they tend to be a bit of a better defense. And Minnesota's offense at times is, I know, tough to watch. But this team can shoot threes. And if we look at where Iowa's at times vulnerable, it's definitely inside the arc, but even behind the arc, like they're not great by any means. You can shoot on this team. We've seen teams shoot well against them. I think it makes a lot of sense for Minnesota to go over their number here. Now, can Iowa cover? I definitely think they could. It's a fat number, though. It is a very fat number. And I know that, this is typically your quote unquote, your get right spot for a team like Iowa. But all things considered, it is a tough game to love on all levels. But again, guns in my head, my favorite look in the game would be going over Minnesota's team total of 67.5, especially with this recent steam that's kind of moved the under down a point or two, and also the Iowa line up a point or two, which has created some correlated movement towards Minnesota's number. for those that want the full clarity, I mean, I have Minnesota's number at 69 on my end, or right under 69. So there's about a point and a half of value there. However you grade that on your end. So yeah, if this line moves a little further, it would definitely be a fire spot for me on mini over their number. But other than that, it'll likely be a stay away spot for me. Terrestrial. What's up, Chris? So other than that, those are the two games that I bet. And then if nobody else has any other questions, we can kind of wrap this show up rather quickly. But other than that, as always, folks, gamble responsibly. Today is a rather light day in the world of sports, right? You had a few tennis finals earlier, but we do have what? NASCAR's back in the mix. Our boy Kegger will be live with the crew, talking through some live spots, and there is nobody better live at betting that sport, my lord, than Kegger. So be sure to stay tuned for that. We have a bunch of picks on the sheet today on our end, so head over to Unpure Bet, see what we're about. Yeah, other than that, folks, stay positive, test negative, stay safe, gamble responsibly as mentioned, and as always, run pure. Catch you guys this week. Later.